Hey, Mr. CEO, boss person of Nissan, I have a fantastic idea. I think we should just get rid of the 370Z and the Z brand in general. Are you nuts?
Yes.
The brand new Nissan Z is coming. I'm still struggling not calling it the 400Z, but I'm always looking at the new sports cars, the new prototypes, everything on the market, even concept cars, what the future holds for this industry. And as I was doing my handy dandy research, I came across this article by Motor Authority. And according to this article, the Nissan Z was never going to get made, which is absolutely atrocious in my opinion. Nissan had this reputation the past almost 12 years that they didn't build anything new in the sports car market. They kind of just sold the Nissan Rogue and things that seemed kind of bland, you know what I mean? They looked like they were going into the same path as Mitsubishi, where they just kind of focused on the economy cars and just were like, yeah, it's whatever, we don't need these sports cars, it's fine. And then, you know, you're never thought of again in the sports car world, which is really sad. Before we get more deep into the Nissan Z's development cycle and why it was such a chaotic time, I want to take a quick pause and thank today's sponsor, Off the Record. Did you know that 41 million drivers get a ticket in the United States every single year? That's 1 in 5 drivers each year and 112,000 people a day. But the main problem is that only 5% of people actually contest their ticket. And the average ticket fine is usually around 150 bucks. So you're just kind of like kicking that issue down the road, just like, it's whatever, I'll just pay it off. But the problem is over the next 3 years, your insurance premiums on average are $1,000 plus. And that is why it's incredibly important to have a clean driving record. Off the Record has successfully contested and dismissed tens of thousands of traffic tickets and misdemeanor charges. Off the Record is incredibly easy to use. Just take a picture of your ticket, upload it to Off the Record, and it will match you with a local qualified, experienced lawyer to help you with your case. And once you go through this, Off the Record will take care of your case from start to finish. Completely stress-free, peace of mind, and you can go on with your life. Because sometimes when you get a ticket, it feels like the absolute end of the world. And Off the Record takes that weight off your shoulder. I personally got a 104 mile per hour reckless driving ticket out in Washington State, and I used Off the Record, and it made my life so much easier. So why should you use this? Well, you maintain a clean driving record, you keep your insurance premiums low, it has a 97% success rate, so you're definitely in good hands. It's stress-free, it's peace of mind, and my personal favorite, no court date. You will not need to go to court when you use Off the Record. And also, if Off the Record fails to reduce or completely dismiss your ticket, complete money back guarantee. There is absolutely nothing to lose from using Off the Record. Also, side note, it's the ultimate tool in your toolbox. So if you download the app now and use my discount code, that 10% off discount will apply the rest of the year. So even if you haven't been pulled over yet, just go ahead and download it. That way you'll be nice and ready to go if you do get pulled over this year. So make sure to go download the Off the Record app or go to the link in the description below and use my code DUDEINBLUE for 10% off your first ticket. The last thing you want is Nissan to leave the sports car game because of their legacy. But it almost seemed like it was going to happen, and here is why. The Toyota Supra has been out a while now, and unfortunately, they're just not selling very well, according to recent data. But unfortunately, it's because of how it was presented and how it was built, and that's why it put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. The Nissan Z's biggest flaw during its development wasn't anything technical, which is pretty ridiculous. It was actually the lack of faith in the project itself. With Nissan getting rid of the Nissan Z brand altogether, that just wouldn't make any sense for their performance department. But at the same time, when it comes to building a new sports car, it takes a lot of money. From a financial perspective, it doesn't make a lot of sense a lot of the times to build a brand new sports car. But on the other hand, it makes your car company look cool, and it makes your car company look like it's passionate about their products and passionate about performance and having fun. It shows that you know how to have fun. The idea of the Nissan Z was completely saved mostly by one guy, Hiroshi Tamura. also known as Mr. GTR. If there was not a better person to save the Nissan Z project, it's probably the guy nicknamed Mr. GTR. I would definitely choose that guy out of the lineup to play dodgeball. He's the chief product specialist for Nismo and the GTR. He comes with the idea of revitalizing the Nissan Z, or the Z brand in general. Basically gets told, kind of work on this under the table in a way, and when you do come up with something that has passion and that's interesting, don't show up with a PowerPoint presentation. Convince the board or convince the CEO to get him excited about it and passionate about the project, rather than here's a slide of what this could possibly be like according to our sales in this quarter. Like, it was not supposed to be like that whatsoever. Show me some sketches, show me something that could actually be built and not some crazy concept car, which concept cars are needed in the industry, but at the same time, they're kind of useless sometimes. And it kind of shows that it can shoot a car company in the foot sometimes. I'm talking about you, FT1. We got the expectation of this, and we got this. And that did not help at all whatsoever. So Mr. GTR wanted the new Nissan Z to be 400 horsepower. That was his first goal. And thankfully nowadays, we know that it happened. But back then, probably a harder sell to rob the Infinity's engine and put it into a Nissan branded car. Basically, the Infinity series of the Q50, the Q60, those are sold as like Grand Tours or basically luxury cars. And so to basically rob that and put it into the little sports car, you're gonna have to do some talking and some convincing because it's gonna be more expensive. But this is the most important point, I think, of the entire development cycle of the new Nissan Z, and that is its main benchmark was the new Toyota Supra. After all this time of speculating and basically showing Toyota, look, we did everything you should have done. We still did a manual transmission, we developed the car all by ourselves, and we somehow managed to keep the price reasonable. Basically, Toyota's argument was, had they developed the Supra all by themselves, the price would have been astronomically high according to R&D cost and everything. Because if you think about it, Toyota didn't have like a rear-wheel drive sports car other than the FRS BRT GT86 combo, and they couldn't just rob that platform and just make that the Supra. That was their argument. Basically, by partnering with BMW, you could keep it semi-affordable, which the Toyota Supra is not that affordable of a car. To get the inline six one and everything, you're gonna run into dealer markups, you're gonna run into hype and that kind of stuff when it comes to pricing. And the fact that their benchmark, their performance benchmark, was their Japanese rival next door, it is just, it's so sweet. Like, it's chef's kiss. Because if you think about it, if they were benchmarking against the Americans or the Europeans, it'd be like, oh, okay, like they're going after the American market or the European market. No, they were like, we're going after the homeland rival. And I think that's also what makes it such an apparent choice for so many people. If you go on any Instagram account that asks the question, would you buy the Nissan Z or the new Supra? It is overwhelmingly the Nissan Z. Just because of their marketing, just because of how they handled building this car. People don't care that it still uses partial parts from the 370Z. They just don't care. And if you look at it, it looks like a bargain on paper to the GR86 as well when it comes to power. I still think the GR86 is a fantastic car, and I don't know it should be kind of compared against each other, because it seems like the Nissan Z is going to be around $40,000 and the GR you can get for under $30,000. But the bargain's going to be there, right? If you want to pay that extra 10 grand or whatever to get almost double the horsepower, that looks more appealing, especially if you're into Japanese sports cars. Now, when you start talking about American cars, that's a whole nother benchmark, and you're talking about European cars, that's a whole nother benchmark, because Americans just kind of cheat when it comes to horsepower per dollar, let's be honest. But so far, the most common criticism of this car during its development is, one, was the lack of faith by Nissan's higher ups, and two, that it uses the 370Z underneath. Essentially uses very much the same chassis and very much the same platform, but it's been heavily changed underneath. The entire suspension geometry is completely different. And with the new twin turbo V6, it's going to feel like a completely different car compared to the 370Z, which does feel dated when it comes to its motor setup. The 370Z's engine doesn't feel all too different from the 350Zs, and that is from the early 2000s. We're in 2021. We shouldn't be driving a car that's brand new that feels like something from 20 years ago. The 350Z was new when Need for Speed Underground came out, which I'm sure a lot of people watching this video were probably just born, which is crazy to think about. Also, Mr. GTR also wanted the car to have a different transmission. And I'm not even talking about the manual transmission. Obviously, that would be a whole nother battle when it comes to making a manual transmission for the car, because nowadays, it's kind of a niche audience, which really stinks. But when it comes to marketing, it's genius to have a manual transmission, even in semi-small supply, that just shows that you care. You know what I mean? It still shows that you care about that audience and also makes you look cool. Oh look, we're hip and cool. We have a manual transmission. He said if it's going to be automatic, we gotta get rid of that Infiniti 7-speed. We have to go with basically a 9-speed transmission in order to satisfy my needs. Like, basically, this dude was saying, look, I have the best opinion and you're going to listen. Basically, by using a 9-speed automatic transmission rather than the 7-speed, it would shift faster and keep in the power band with closer gear ratios. Therefore, it'd be more exciting and feel faster as well. Also, all-wheel drive is an option on some of the Infiniti cars with the same engine setup, but not in the Nissan Z, because Nissan wanted it to feel sportier and not Grand Tourish, because sometimes all-wheel drive, even though it's incredible, can kind of numb things up sometimes. There's a reason why a magic formula like front engine and rear wheel drive is so much fun. Mid-engine, for example, theoretically is pretty much the best for a sports car in a lot of ways when it comes to just balance and whatever. But front engine, rear wheel drive, there is just something about it. We also gotta talk about the weight gain. Apparently the new Nissan Z does have about 200 more pounds than the 370Z, and the 370Z is around 3,400 pounds. So it's not a massive increase in weight, but if you think about it, with the amount of horsepower you're getting in comparison to the 370Z, I think is gonna even itself out. I don't think it's gonna feel that heavy. Also, many of you might wonder why there's no spoiler, like a big spoiler or a post spoiler on the Nissan Z. And that is because Hiroshi said a rear spoiler is negative for beauty. So that goes out to all of you hot boys in your stance builds with your chassis mounted 350Z wings. I'm sure that's really helping you with your tilty boy wheels. Man, such downforce. Man, did I just strike a chord with somebody? I'm so sorry. Point of the matter is the car had to be good looking and they could take criticism. And with the Proto Z, I think they listened to all of us. They listened to all the little things we said we didn't like about it, and then they fixed it in less than a year by taking the 370Z and just turning it on its head. That's more of a success story than being lazy, in my opinion. I think when you reuse a platform, that can come across as lazy to most people, but not this time. This time, I think it was utilized in a very smart way, and Nissan knows it. Guys, with this new information coming out that the Nissan Z almost didn't happen, what do you think about that? What do you think about the sports car market in general, and do you think another company could come in and kind of steal Nissan's thunder in the industry? If you think about it, without the Z, there's only the R35 left. And the R35, like we've said a million times, has kind of overstayed its welcome. Even Toyota with the Supra, even though a lot of people don't like it, that still makes people excited that Toyota is still making sporty cars. The GR86 alone does that for the company. The Corvette is at an all-time high when it comes to its mid-engine setup. People are building sports cars again, and if Nissan didn't jump in on the action, they would have been left behind. And on that note, guys, I want to thank each and every one of you for watching this video. Make sure to hit that like button. It really helps me out. And on that note, I upload on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. And I will see you guys next time, and take it easy. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye. This video is brought to you by Patterson Car Care. Get double of premium original detail product for half the price. Head over to PattersonCarCare.com or go to the link in the description below.